Our roadway where people are turning in pretty fast. This is a no-brainer. We know how to fix this. We're just not looking at this when we look at safety. And I think if we have the right performance measures, hopefully we will start to look at this issue. This is Bel Air Boulevard. Again, it's pretty easy to see the problem here. You have this huge intersection and you have no crosswalk or anything else there to show cars that, hey, people might actually want to walk here. And if we take a look back at all those little black dots, which are unfortunate reminders of people are walking here. And whether or not we want them to walk there, they need to walk there. There are stores they need to get to, there are jobs they need to get to, and they have to get back home after that. And right now, there's no safe way for them to do that. And I think if we have a performance measure that looks at both of these issues, hopefully we'll start to take some of this safety money that Texas DOT gets and use it to go back and retrofit and address these types of situations. So again, we really think the types of performance measures that we have, while they are going to be really important, because they're going to drive how the money's spent. And if we grade things the wrong way, we're going to throw good money to go and try to solve problems that you may or may not have. And then you may also face situations where the locally preferred option, building transit or other things of that nature, could be viewed as an F. And then folks tell you you're doing the wrong thing, which is really going to kind of encourage your political opponents to stand up and get in your way, and they're going to have something from the experts that they can wave up in the air that says you're failing, even though you know you're not. You're doing the right thing. And so this is a really important kind of aspect of the bill. The other thing I would say about performance measures is, while this is a 2-year bill, and let me be very clear to anyone who has thought about this, this is going to be longer than 2 years. It took us 3 years to write a 2-year bill, and if anyone thinks we're going to all of a sudden, at the end of October 2014, pass another transportation bill, I have some stuff of snake oil I want to sell to you. It's going to be a year at least after this bill expires, most likely, before we pass another one. And if you talk to the key members of Congress and their congressional staff, these performance measures are not going away. They see this as the beginning step of an evolving process that's going to move forward, which starts with reporting and then comparison over time, and eventually we'll move to having things like Tiger grants and other competitive grants tied to these performance measures. So right now, the worst thing that could happen, and it would be bad, is you could have your opponents armed with official documents from USDOT saying you're bad. But imagine in like 6 or 7 years, if all of a sudden the New Starts grants that you've used to build your light rail, or the Tiger grants, which you've also applied for, all of a sudden graded you in a way that you completely disagreed with, and said the things that you're trying to do to make your region more equitable, more sustainable, were actually bad. And then you didn't get money. And so again, these are just really important concepts that are being developed right now at USDOT. They're going to be putting out a draft rule for public comment early in the new year, and I would really encourage any of you all who may have some concerns based on the things I've showed you to weigh in with them, because they really are looking for public input. The last issue that I wanted to touch on very briefly, unless David tells me to sit down, wishing he'll do that. He's not. So that I want to talk about is the TIFIA loan program. Is anyone familiar with the TIFIA loan program? A few of you. Does anyone know what it stands for? I'm glad you don't. I've memorized what it stands for, and you lose very, very valuable childhood memories like your 8th grade dance and other things. So don't worry about what it stands for. What you need to know is that this is the one area of MAP 21 where there's a bunch of new opportunities. In the past, this program is a loan program. You apply to it for basically extremely, extremely cheap loans. Right now, I think the interest rate is 2.4%. I just refinanced and got 3.2. I thought I was lucky. So if you want a TIFIA loan, you can really get a great interest rate here. But it used to give out about $1 to $2 billion in loans a year. This year alone, it's going to give out at least $10 billion. And the year after that, it's going to give out another $10 to $12 billion in new loans. And so this is a major opportunity and a huge kind of infusion of cash that will be provided by the federal government under this program. And I want to talk a little bit about how the program used to work, but more importantly, how it can work moving forward. This map here shows you all of the past TIFIA loans that have been provided across the country. As you may notice, your home state here, Texas, has been quite successful at using TIFIA loans. However, they've been, just like the rest of the country, they've only really been quite successful at using them for highways. And so one of the things that's happened under MAP 21 is they have made small financial tweaks, and if anyone's happy to talk about them, I'll explain it later in more detail. But they basically make it now so the TIFIA program works for transit projects. And I want to give you kind of two examples of how this works and how you guys should think about this as you explore some of your future transit corridors and whether or not this can help you advance it. So right here is just kind of a small map of the Tucson streetcar project in Arizona. These folks were lucky enough in 2009 to get a $63 million Tiger Grant award. Let me tell you something. There are never going to be $63 million Tiger Grant awards again. They gave out awards of that size in the first round during this Recovery Act. Since then, the largest single award has been $21 million. The second largest has been 20, and they really kind of trail down after that. So don't pin your hopes on being a Tucson for kind of moving forward with a new streetcar project, because it ain't going to happen. And I'm not saying this to be depressing or mean. It's just a fact. However, I think the Tucson example can be telling us, well, what the hell would have Tucson did if it didn't get the Tiger Grant? And there's some things that it could have done. Each of those dots right there is a development project that's happening in the downtown because of this streetcar project. Tucson actually expects their property values in the downtown to increase by $35 million on parcels that won't be redeveloped because of the streetcar, and they also have 24 acres of undeveloped or underutilized land that's being redeveloped as a part of this streetcar project. Those increases in revenues can now help pay back the TIFIA loan. And so what you're doing here, what you could do here under the TIFIA program, is you go to the federal government, you knock on their door, you say, "Mother, may I please have a loan?" And you tell them how you're going to pay them back. They give you the cash. You go out and you build the streetcar, the light rail, the bus rapid transit, whatever your project is. It takes you 3 to 5 years. You don't pay them a penny. They don't even call you. Then after that, you can wait up to an additional 5 years before you even have to start paying them back. Now, if any of you have ever worked in real estate and really worked on transit-oriented development, you'd know that it takes about 5 to 8 years, 5 to 10 years, before transit-oriented development ramps up and you can realize these increased property tax values from this transit-oriented development. So what you can do now with the TIFIA loan program is actually get the loan and then pay it back with the benefits that are created by the project. How many times when you've tried to advance a project, have you heard the city say, well, we need this project because we're going to grow, but we don't have the revenues to pay for it yet because we haven't grown. And you have this chicken and egg problem of how do we get it done, and in the past it's basically been unsolvable unless you wanted to do a toll highway, in which case you have the TIFIA program. You can now use this exact same program to move forward with transit projects. So again, another example is here's that same picture from Charlotte. This line opened in 2007. In 2010, the city of Charlotte was bringing in an additional $20 million in property taxes along this corridor because of the Blue Line. That $20 million in property taxes a year can easily support a $250 million TIFIA loan. Is it going to pay for an entire project? No. But is it going to help you get over that last little hurdle to get this project and move it to reality? It just might. And so this is one of the things that's out there. It's a ton of new money, and the choice is really yours as to whether or not you want to step forward and try and pursue funding from this type of program. But let me tell you, other regions are doing it. New Orleans submitted a TIFIA loan for application for $140 million to extend their streetcar by 4 miles. Kansas City submitted an application for $200 million to build a streetcar system downtown, and several other cities have also done that as well. And so this money is going to be out there. It's on a first come, first served basis. And so if this is something that you think might be helpful for your region, I would really encourage you to put your heads together on the sooner term and think about it, and then if it works for you, move forward with it, because this has so many unique advantages to it compared to other financing. Again, if you did municipal bonds, you have to pay that back on day one, even though you don't have the new development or the new taxes for it. And that's not really going to work, because at that point you're taking money away from schools, crime, or public safety, excuse me, and other things, and the public doesn't want that. But the TIPIA loan can help you avoid all of those types of controversies while still getting the money you need to advance your project. And with that, thank you for your time, and I hope that was informative.